Have you ever heard somebody say, I don't go to church? In fact, I don't even believe because when I went to church, I felt judged. Yeah, that is very common. Well, Jesus was put to death by religious leaders for hanging out with sinners. Yeah. And most of the people that were in the Bible were like murderers, tax collectors, prostitutes, things like that. So, we're not alone. In fact, the hearts that Jesus goes after happens to be like occult leaders who end up turning into deliverance ministers, murderers who get half the time and end up turning into gospel teachers, prostitutes who end up turning into working with the homeless, and the list goes on and on. Junkies who end up turning into AA sponsors and end up, teaching, fifth grade class. I mean, I don't know. I'm just going with the flow here. And the reason why is because Jesus gets all the glory for changing hardcore hearts into beautiful situations that glorify him. Yes. And Jesus spoke all the time about religious leaders and legalism weighing down the people. All the time. In fact, many of the times, he was trying to serve the people on a Sunday and, he got in trouble for it or whatever. Some of his last words were talking about false prophets and legalism and things of that nature. And so, we still have that today. It was back then. Jesus got killed by religious leaders. And I'm sorry that is happening, but we need to get to know who Jesus is. I used to mock the church and mock Jesus all the time because of my misunderstanding of who he was until I ended up having an actual encounter with him and got to know who he was through reading the word and finding out for myself. And that encounter, that pouring down of love and seeing who he was through service and what he said about religious leaders changed my whole situation. And I used to be violent. I used to be crazy. And I have a background that will rock your world. And my whole life has changed by encountering Jesus. So it's not the people in the church, the religious leaders who are the ones that we're supposed to go to. It's supposed to be Jesus. But yes, a church is where we should feel safe. And I'm telling you, my church, Metro Life, is where it's at. All right, love y'all. Bye. And Jesus does love you.